Hey there everyone, let's discuss more 3D Realms drama.
I just wish there was an insider that could shed some light on 3D Realms.
Well, it certainly would be nice, and with everything that is going on and the amount of near vitriol they're receiving, you would think they'd make a formal post. I was hoping that my video on the matter would help encourage someone at 3D Realms to respond directly to not only me and all of you, but everyone across their social media. Thankfully though, I may be able to provide just a little bit of clarity on a few things, as we did get some interesting people in the comments, including the man himself. We'll get to that later, but first, welcome to my new study room. Hope you guys like the new digs. I'm still fresh to Doom Builder, so hopefully over time you will see progress as I continue to customize this space. Please let me know what you think or any suggestions you'd like to see. Now, let's get through a handful of your questions and comments.
Despite being frustrating at times, this makes you appreciate New Blood saying that their games will release when it's done. If you don't expect anything, it's better than missing every deadline you promised.
New Blood may have some of the same issues as 3D Realms, but it is true that they are far more likely to withhold hyping a game up and announcing release dates until it is indeed ready. Yeah, it may be annoying to have to wait, but 3D Realms' biggest issue is getting everybody pumped for a release only to repeatedly miss the mark. Medieval The Black Labyrinth may not be out still, but they've never said when it would be out, only soon, which is smart.
The original Kingpin took 11 months to create, and yet a remaster is taking 3D Realms a lot longer.
Yeah, over 3 years longer and counting. I'll give Slipgate Ironworks this: reverse engineering any game isn't easy, but reverse engineering is not what is keeping this game from being released. They even say they are near complete in their Steam updates back in 2021. I don't know the full ins and outs of game development, obviously, but I believe it doesn't take nearly 4 years to remaster a game when the original was designed from the ground up in only one.
Perhaps too many games are being worked on by them concurrently? Resources are being divided up a bit too much?
I have no doubt that 3D Realms and by proxy Slipgate Ironworks are spread way too thin. While I can't find the numbers for how many people are currently employed, it certainly can't be enough to be working on all of these games at once. They have their hands in at least 8 or 9 games right now, and for what I perceive to be a rather small development studio, that just cannot logistically work out in their favor.
There might be announcements coming for the next Realms Deep in September and give us some final release dates, I hope.
Oh, I have no doubt they'll be giving release dates. It's just a matter of not believing them anymore when they give them. Giving all of us new dates to look forward to at this point will not go over well, but if they don't, it still won't go over well. 3D has now placed themselves firmly in the damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. But speaking of Realms Deep, I made sure to take the day off from work, so I will be doing a live stream of that whole event. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and look forward to it.
Personally, I was most interested in the Kingpin and Sin remasters. Has there been any clarifications as to what state they are in at the moment?
I hate to say there has been nothing said or posted about either of these by 3D Realms. I think as far as we all know, these projects have either been placed way on the back burner or thrown completely in the freezer. However, somebody interesting did mention just a tiny bit of info regarding Sin that I will get to close to the end.
Ghostrunner 2. Does 3D Realms have a hand in this?
No, I don't think so. If you look at all the marketing material currently out for GR2, you won't see 3D Realms mentioned anywhere. Which isn't too surprising. They weren't involved with the development or publishing, just producing the first game. So I'm going to say no, they are not involved with Ghostrunner 2.
I'm gonna have to beg you to know about the song used toward the end of the very first section.
Oh, it is pretty great, right? It might be my favorite from Icarus Alien Vanguard. And Xeotroid did a fantastic job refreshing it. The track is called Return to Moria from Map 3 Quarry. Link is in the description of both this video and the previous one, go check it out.
Unfortunately, I think the boomer shooter genre is firmly on its ass.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily say it's on its ass. More like it's taken a stumble. There are still games being released both by one-man teams and bigger studios. Hell, Bolt Gun just released and I've been hearing great things about that. Plus, if you look into the modding community, myhouse.wad is perhaps the most downloaded Doom WOD ever at this point. Just because 3D, and to a much lesser extent, New Blood, can't get their games out on time doesn't necessarily mean the whole genre is on its ass. Though, I certainly agree that 3D Realms is.
Cultic was actually announced when only the demo was completed, which was a single map that didn't even make it into the final game. The entirety of Chapter 1, along with a rework of Map 1, the demo map, and a huge art overhaul were all completed between announcement and release. The release date, however, wasn't decided on and revealed until I was positive I could meet it, and even then, some major changes were squeezed in the final month between development and release.
Wowee, we have Jasozz himself, Jason Smith, here to correct me on something obvious I missed. Yes, Cultic was first released as a demo in 2021. It wasn't just announced then released like I had said. My only excuse for missing this detail is the fact that none of the issues revolving around 3D Realms involve Cultic. It's pretty much the outlier for the company. And getting a little bit of behind the scenes info from Jasozz himself was really cool. It helps to keep in mind that game development can change so much and things can just happen that will throw off development, which is a testament to Jason Smith for still being able to meet the release date of Chapter 1. Thank you, Jason. I am very much looking forward to Chapter 2.
Rise of the Triad Remaster is still on their backlog, and I'd say it's more important than these games.
So I don't know if this commenter missed the part where I talked about Rise of the Triad, but the ROTT Remaster is not at all being made by 3D Realms anymore. And to get further clarification about this matter, we actually have the man himself, Scott Miller, former CEO of the OG 3D Realms and current Apogee Entertainment Publishing Operations head, to shed some light on this.
We ended up pulling the Rise of the Triad Remaster rights away from 3D Realms 18 months ago, so it would not get stuck in the mud over there like Kingpin and Sin, etc. We handed those remaster rights to Night Dive, and it's taken Night Dive just a single year to make a much more ambitious remaster than 3D Realms had planned. It's all about priorities and not taking on too many projects that spread your development efforts too thin.
Well, doesn't that say a lot with only 3 sentences? Consider what he is saying here though. Apogee pulled the rights from 3D 18 months ago and gave them to Night Dive, who in only 1 single year developed a full remaster that will be available to play in less than 2 weeks from when I'm recording this. They pulled the rights away from 3D Realms because they did not find them fit to develop it. Scott also pretty much confirms what we all have thought might be the cause of all of this. 3D Realms and Slipgate are spread too thin and taking on too many projects all at once. But that isn't all. I asked Mr. Miller to add any clarity he could to the Sin and Kingpin remaster scenario. This is what he said.
I honestly have no insight on Sin. My original understanding was that it was a collaboration between new 3D Realms and Night Dive, with 3D Realms doing a lot of the revised art assets. But I separated when Embracer took over and 3D Realms didn't want me involved anymore. So since then, I don't know what is causing such a super long delay for Sin and Kingpin. I mean, there can only really be one answer: lack of focus. Phantom Fury and Tempest Rising are the new shiny objects. This should be obvious to everyone. I just can't imagine that if Graven and Wrath were still the shiny new objects, that those games would still be unreleased.
Whew. Before I tackle this comment, I first want to give the biggest thank you I can to Scott Miller for saying I made a good video. Oh, and also for weighing in on all of this. I wish I could say I was shocked or surprised by what Scott said, but after all the research I did, it really did always come down to one fact. 3D Realms and Slipgate have taken on too many projects at once, spread themselves too thin, and are now unable to properly focus on the games they've announced upwards of 5 years ago. Don't be fooled by their recent announcements, all of which, as I've mentioned before, are still slated with a coming 2023 release. I do not predict that these games will actually come out this year at all, so don't hold your breath. As for Sin and Kingpin, I don't know. Hope they're still working on them? At this point, I'm far more willing to throw out the Sin remaster as a lost cause simply due to the fact Night Dive is involved and that game hasn't seen an update in years, leaning to me believing that there is some sort of conflict between the two companies.
The fact that gamers haven't learned that early access is even worse than pre-ordering makes me wonder if most of the consumers even have functioning brains or care for the hobby.
I will actually be looking into this very topic of pre-ordering and early access in an upcoming video, but I will weigh in on this comment. I have very mixed feelings about what is said here. It is worth acknowledging that early access came about as a way to help smaller development teams get money during development and have a dedicated fan base they can bounce ideas and builds off of before they officially release the game. It is sad, though, that this has been taken advantage of by many gaming companies. In essence, you are entering a game in early access because you believe in the product and want to help out the team behind it. Then also pray that they don't just take your money and run. This also goes for pre-ordering too, though. I am much more on the side of not pre-ordering any game unless you are willing to take the very likely chance that you will get burned. For example, me and the limited edition big box for Wrath. I am still very upset that there has been nothing said by 3D Realms about this situation. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for commenting on the video and leaving questions and comments for me to respond to. I didn't even get to all the really humbling comments. I particularly liked being told I had a calming voice, but there was a lot, so please know that I have read every one of your comments, and thank you very, very much. I will continue to cover any big updates and developments involving 3D Realms, so please subscribe and stay tuned, my friends. And one more very big thank you to both Jason Smith and Scott Miller for weighing in on my video. Thank you guys very much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.